Yeah, can you hear me? Do I sound like super roomy?
No, you sound fine to me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of a delay, so maybe
Could
just
be
like
that.
take one headphone
I
off.
think it is that.
Welcome
Wow.
to season 2, everybody.
Wow, what an entrance. Unplanned. Just went with it.
Thought we were going to take some time
To toe the line.
to figure out what we wanted to do
We
for
didn't.
season 2, and we didn't take any time. We just hopped right into it, and I'm glad we did.
We just got ideas.
Yeah, we got ideas. The people are giving. We now
Yeah.
have 2 official sponsors for Prone
Oh.
to Ponder.
Oh,
Thank you.
wait. Drum roll.
You got to point the microphone. Thank you to Nick Hansen for sponsoring Prone to Ponder
We are
once a month.
now making a officially $1.85.
Yeah, man. So thank you to Chris Meller and Nick Hansen for sponsoring. If you want to sponsor Prone to Ponder,
Yeah.
go to
Prone
anchor.fm/prone to ponder
to
/support, and you can give every month.
yeah.
And it's as little as 99 cents a month. Guys,
Lego.
I think you can do it. We got one more thing to plug.
Yes.
We're on the Instagram.
Oh, on the line.
We're on the line.
We're on the line.
We
Take
can
the
we can
photos.
make the photos, and we could just put them out on the line. Online.
What?
On the line. Online. On
What?
the line.
We're on the line and saving people? What?
What?
We're saving lives?
Oh, man.
No, not really. I hope so.
Well, we're on Instagram, so go follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
That way you don't miss anything. We're going to be putting maybe some snippets.
Oh.
Little video and pictures and
Oh.
whatnot on
So you can
on
get
the line.
so you can get a face of the voice. I've always been told I have a face of a radio, so
So today we're going to talk about failure.
yeah.
Why specific? We threw out a couple options, a couple different topics, and failure stuck out to you. Why?
Mhm. I think that everybody at some point in their life goes through a low point. I think on one of the podcasts we definitely talked about trauma. I always go back to like what Yoda said in Return of the Jedi. No,
No, in the Last
Empire. No, it was an Empire.
Oh.
Oh, no, it is. He says like failure is the most important part of learning a lesson. Is that like it doesn't matter how many times you succeed, there will always be failure. There's a term like, get knocked down 7, stand up 8 times. Get knocked down 8 times, stand up 10 times, like, or 9, whatever. It's a beautiful way of looking at it. Some people think, like, at least for me, when you are down in the dumps and you're dealing with a lot of like work stuff or home life or relationships and stuff like that, that failure just it sort of like gets into a tornado and it just sort of surrounds your life, and you get stuck in that tornado. And it's really hard to get out, like to find your way out of everything. And it may feel like failure is the key thing. And for some reason, like I love failure because I fail a lot. But it's not about what you fail at. It's how you come out of that.
It's what you learn through the failure.
Yeah.
I remember being young. I mean, a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't quite a teenager yet. I don't know, maybe like 10 or 11 or whatever. And watching Mythbusters.
Okay.
And I remember Adam and Jamie
Mm-hmm.
on Mythbusters literally like every episode talking about you learn the most from your failures.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we didn't fail this way, we wouldn't have learned that this is actually the right way to do it, or blah, 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 right? You know, I think you get told your whole life, even growing up as like a real young kid in preschool and, you know, kindergarten and all that kind of stuff. It's like these teachers and parents and everyone says like, oh, you always learn the most from your failures, or if you didn't fail, then you wouldn't know how to
you wouldn't
persevere.
learn.
Right. I remember specifically like Mythbusters is one of those things that like just watching it on TV and hearing these people tell me, because we failed, we now understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been like really vivid to me, and I've always stuck in my head, because it's not just about like accepting failure.
Yeah.
It's about accepting failure and almost welcoming it. Taking it one step past acceptance, right? But I mean, for like some of the big stuff, like if I'm trying to, not even big stuff, if I'm trying to cook a recipe, I shouldn't expect to nail it the first time, right? If I'm trying to learn to snowboard, I shouldn't expect to just be great at it right away. If we're starting a podcast, we shouldn't expect that the first 10 episodes anybody listens to it, because they didn't, and it's okay. And and we've spent, you know, over 20 hours
and $20,000 on this,
just recording the podcast, and another 50 hours editing.
Well,
and we have $6 to show for it. You know, so
would you consider that a failure?
I would consider, I think this opens up a whole nother topic, right? Because what is success?
Yeah, how do you measure it?
Right. So let's talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about you and failure.
Well, I can't think of a specific example because I've failed a lot in my life. But I can definitely think of when we were in the band, when we were in Over the Sun. There was like a portion of a time where we just started the band, and we were young. I mean, I was like 19, I think. 19 or 20. And we were just playing like my first big show was House of Blues in Chicago.
Yeah, I think you were 19.
Yeah, my first big show, and I was like, "What are we doing?" So, but then that year we kind of played.
And you learned how to play bass 3 months prior.
Yeah, hell yeah! That year was sort of like we didn't really like take it seriously.
Yeah,
and then by the end of that year, we're like, "Look, we're getting some traction." We weren't, but we were.
Yeah.
We were like,
we had something to show for it.
Right. People liked what they saw. Because I remember people being like, dude, I don't know if this is going to be good or if this is going to be really, really bad. And I was like, well, just wait and see. And they came back and were like, that was so good.
Yeah.
So then at the end of that year, we decided, like, let's take this seriously. Let's actually try. You and I went to Nashville. And then when we came back that following summer, we made the decision to play everything, everywhere, at any time. And we did. And we probably played like 250 shows that entire summer.
I mean, almost every weekend we played at least one show.
Yeah.
And some weeks, I remember there was one week that we played 3 shows in a week. Because we played 2 on the weekend and 1 during the week.
Yep.
1 for 1 weekday.
Yep. And I think I wouldn't consider that a failure, but we definitely were trying to succeed. We're trying to get traction in the area. And there were some shows where we played to no one. There were some shows we played in a garage to like 15 people, and it was one of the best shows you ever play. But you live and you learn. Like you learn, like, you know, we're like, you know, let's book with this guy. He'll be good. No, he wasn't. We're never gonna book with that guy again. And or, you know, let's play these songs. Oh my gosh, these songs suck. Like, let's not play this. So it's like a failure. We learned by doing.
Trial and error.
Right. It was trial and error. And I wouldn't say any of that was a failure. I mean, there was definitely shows where we would come back and be like, that was the worst show we've ever played.
Oh yeah.
Before we go on, what was the worst show we think we ever played? I think I'm starting to like repress those memories.
Yeah,
I don't remember
too.
much.
I am too. The worst show. There are 2 different ones for me. Okay. Right. The worst show we ever played was that one in Champaign where it was like the release party.
No, that was in Bourbonnais.
Oh, yeah. Bourbonnais.
Yeah.
Where there was a release party for
Oh my God.
Way Back Home. And Joe was going through his spinal thing.
Yeah.
And like having massive vertigo on stage and like almost passed out. And
he stopped singing basically for like 2 minutes and he just stood there.
And after that, and I mean, literally halfway through, not even halfway, like 3 songs in.
Yeah.
everybody got up and left.
Yep.
We didn't know until later, like after we finished the show, that there was like some block party, and it was on college campus. So literally all the college kids like got up to go to this block party.
It was like the only party that they have that year.
Yeah. So they all were just like, oh, well, we were all here and now we're all leaving.
Yeah.
And we did not know that until the very end. And that just shook all of us. We're like, holy cow, we must be terrible.
Yeah. Because we worked so hard on this album.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think as far as like how well we played, I think we played terribly after everybody left.
Oh,
Just because it shook us, right?
Yeah.
And the whole thing going on with Joe's neck and spine and all that. But the show that I enjoyed the least was probably that one that we played at that Italian restaurant in Downers Grove.
Oh, Capri? Yeah.
Oh, that show was just a mess.
That was just stupid.
Yeah.
Why were we in a fine dining restaurant?
We were in literally like a fine dining Italian joint.
Yeah.
The day before the show, the promoter's like, hey, can you guys provide and run sound for the whole night?
It was day of.
Day of.
Every time she has day of.
And we're like, I mean, we don't really want to.
Yeah, because you're not paying us.
She's like, okay, well, you guys have to or you can't play the show. No one can play the show because you guys are the only people that run sound. We're like, fine, but then you need to rent the equipment and like rent our time and pay us.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't do that.
Yeah,
and we're like,
it's a free dinner.
Yeah, so she's like, okay, we'll get everyone a free dinner. And we're like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure you got everyone a free dinner anyway, because literally everybody got a free dinner that night. And after we played, her boyfriend's band went on, and they're like, our drummer can't make it. Can you drum for us?
And you have no preparation.
I'm like, what songs you know? They're like, it's all 70s rock songs. I'm like, fine, it's all the same thing anyway.
You did it.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that show was just, What about you?
That was rough. Bamfest.
As in, you just didn't think we played well, or you hated it?
We rolled up, and I said, we need to turn this car around right now. And Nick was like, it's going to be fun. I'm like, no, it's not. It's 105 degrees out, and we are all wearing button downs. Why are we here in the middle of June? That was the worst show.
It was Father's Day.
It was Father's Day. It was basically like a bunch of punk bands that played.
It's 130 degrees
and
out.
At that time, we were
like an alt band.
No, we weren't even that. We were a reggae band at that time.
No.
Yeah, that was like our second show.
No, we already put out Way Back Home.
No, we didn't. No, this was first year, man. At least for me.
Was it?
Yeah, it was like June.
So we were still playing the real one.
Oh yeah.
So we played like Haunted and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh dang. Hey, if anyone listening knows Haunted, go to anchor.fm/pornoponder/support. You like that song?
It's a great song, man. I remember playing that in Radison's basement.
Oh dang.
Like a man stands on the corner of the street. Wah, wah. That's a great song.
That's a funky one.
But I remember it was 105 degrees outside. Yeah. And I hated every moment of it. There was 19 people there, and 18 of them worked there.
Mm-hmm. Or there were other bands.
There was no one difference there. We're in the middle of a field in like nowhere.
And we had to pay Bob.
And we had to pay to play.
Yeah.
And he was like, there's going to be like thousands of people.
He's like, if you guys can sell 100 tickets,
yeah, then
you're good. But if you don't sell 100 tickets, then you have to pay the whatever, the leftover.
It was like $200.
Yeah.
All our parents came, and they played for our thing, and I remember just getting lit into afterwards. So like, how dare you drag me out here on Father's Day? Oh, it was the stupidest show. And one of the scariest part was that the stage was so janky that when Joe would jump around, the stage beneath me would separate, and I could see 20 feet down. And I'm like, holy, can we stop?
It was raised like 6 feet.
It was definitely taller than that.
That's all right. It was, that was a crazy show.
Terrifying.
And we got to have Nick and Joe on the podcast sometime, and we'll just talk all of those old shows, because we got some stories.
Yeah.
We got some good stories. Anyway, back to failure.
Yeah.
In your life, and this is going to be a deep cut here.
Oh.
What do you consider, not like what other people consider about you, but to you in your life, what do you consider your biggest failure?
I I mean, you think failure and regret are the same thing?
I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I don't think you often feel regret without failing, unless it's like a shame kind of regret. But
I mean, I consider the fact that I didn't really apply myself in school, like literally from day one, I hated it, and I don't really specifically remember why. It was just not what, like, I know myself now, like knowing if I don't want to do something, I will not do it.
Yeah.
Like if it's like, oh, we have to go to a party. I mean, if I go, I'm going to hate it. Like, and if I don't want to go to this party, or if I don't want to hang out with this person or do whatever, like if I don't want to do it, either I won't do it or I'll hate every moment of it and I'll be a pain. I just remember getting like, sort of like, I would get yelled at by, at least every other year, I'd get yelled at by some teacher about not applying myself.
Is this high school?
No, this is like grade. School? This is like elementary school, junior high, high school. I remember this one guy like laid into me in front of everybody in the school, and not in the school, but in the class, and it was like my math teacher, and he just like laid into me because I think I didn't like do the homework, and it was right before my lunch in high school, freshman year, and I was like starving every time I'd go there to the class. I'm like, I can't. I'm so hungry, and I have to watch you teach about math, which I hate, and I just don't want to be here. I missed like 80 days in senior year of high school.
80? There's like 100-something days in school year.
Yeah.
Dang.
And I wouldn't say like I'm a failure now, because I think a lot of people get defined by school.
Oh, yeah.
Or like that's instilled in them.
Oh, yeah. That if you don't have a quality education, you're never going to be anything.
Right.
Kind of thing, yeah.
And my mom was very supportive in being like, I understand you don't like school, but you have to do something. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you don't want to go to school, you don't want to go to college, that's fine. Frankly, I don't want you to go to school because then I have to pay for it. Or I'd have to pay for it, me. And so I was like, I can't do that. So she supported me in my own other adventures. But I really think that I would be in a different place if I had applied myself a little bit more and kind of got over myself. I always have like those fantasies of going back like in time and beating the shit out of my younger self. Being like, Mr. Rinker was right.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'd say like not really applying myself. We might want to cut this one early. You're yawning a lot. You're making me yawn.
It's this lasagna that Aaron brought. Aaron, if you're listening, thank you for the lasagna. But next time I can't have that before a podcast.
Fall asleep.
It's putting me to bed. Yeah, I don't know. That's hard because it comes back down to like, how does an individual define success?
Yeah.
I don't often feel like I failed. I often feel like if I'm going to use the word failed or failure, it's because I didn't accomplish something exactly the way that I wanted it to happen, if that makes sense.
So the outcome was just different.
The outcome was different, right? And to me, that is some sort of in between failure and success, right? Because I didn't succeed at doing exactly what I wanted to do, but somehow I got it done. Because I'm not, me, I'm not the kind of person to just start something and let it die.
Yeah.
If I am, I find a way to get something out of it before I let it die. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm a hobby person. Mm-hmm. I need hobbies. I often get bored by doing one hobby for too long. So during like quarantine,
like woodworking,
I picked up woodworking, right? I'm like, I'm going to start woodworking. Like that sounds like something I could
be
like
into. 2 weeks.
And I did like a lot of research. I watched like 1 billion videos.
Yes, you did.
And
that was the funniest thing.
And I'm like, man, I'm going to start like making stuff around the house. I'm going to give people gifts made out of wood.
You're like, I want to make a table for my sister.
Yeah. And I'm like, I could do this. Like, this is pretty easy. And then I started to realize this is really freaking expensive. Yeah. Like you need a lot of the right tools and you need the wood.
Yeah. The wood alone will put you in the ground.
Yeah. And I'm like, dang, this isn't as simple as I thought it would be, especially with the other kind of hobbies. I mean, all my hobbies are so expensive.
Yeah.
I sort of dropped the hobby, but it wasn't until I got something out of it, which was I built those like monitor stands for the basement. Mm-hmm. And I was really happy with those.
Yeah.
And I gained a lot of, skill and experience. And I learned that woodworking just is not for me at this time of life.
Yeah, I mean, I have two family members that are a lot older, ones not around anymore, but they did woodworking as like it was definitely like a passion, but it was just a passive passion.
Right.
So they would have like all these artwork and stuff, but it was like a progressive time. It's like Tom. Yeah. Tom sort of like, he's like, I love woodworking. Like he's going to do till he dies. And he's building a table in his house. Like, it's not ending.
Right.
It's just sort of a thing.
Passive is a good word for it.
Right.
Because it's not like a rushed experience, and that's the way I like to do everything.
Yeah. And that was like quarantine. That's all you either worked or you did that.
Right.
There was really no other thing like to preoccupy your time, like especially because you were here. You were in that other room over there, and you went to the garage to make stuff. It's like you're not really going anywhere you're not really like looking forward to that would take up more time. You know.
Right.
So you kind of like rushed through it.
Yeah, which brings me to success.
Yeah.
And like what my at least definition of success is, because I think you might have posted something today, or I saw, I don't know, you share a lot of Gary Vee stuff.
Are you talking about the success is doing what you want and being happy about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gary Vee.
Okay. Did you post that?
Yep.
Okay, so read that again.
Yeah, so Gary Vee, if you don't know who Gary Vaynerchuk, he is a hustler. He like started from the bottom, and now he's like this humongous.
Started from the bottom, now we here.
He's like this humongous influencer, and he's a very big like advocate for young adults and understand and how like the stigma comes around that kids need to have it figured out, that kids need to be available, the kids need to have like life figured out at 18. It's like, no, that's not really possible. So he posted this quote that says, success is doing what you want and being happy about it. But I'm also going to talk about the other thing that he posted. So he also posted this, it looked, I would say like sort of a teenager. Oh, Prana Ponder has gone live on Instagram. And it's like this guy's got bubbles around his head, and he says, my friends have it together, but I don't. I don't know what my passion is. Oh my God, I'm turning 30 next year. And at the bottom it says, you're not lost. You're just early in the process. So it's going back to what you were saying, and I think it kind of goes off of like, how do you measure success? Like some people might measure that by money in the bank or a big house or a nice car, or I personally kind of going off of that quote we read last week for the last week podcast, the end of season 1.
Go back and listen if you haven't yet.
Yeah, it's 6 minutes long. You have the time. Basically, to sum it up, it was like this guy wanted to change his world, change his country, change his family, but it didn't work. So he thought back on his life and said, you know, well, if I had only worked on myself, then maybe by just being around me, hearing me, seeing me as an example of a great person, you can turn into something great. And it would have made his family, his country, his town, you name it, better. Right. And that's personally like me. It's like, I value a great person. Like, I don't think that the most successful people on the planet, yes, like there are some people like Gary Vee that hustled and worked his way up the ladder and built this great empire, and he did that by working hard, by waking up at 4:30 in the morning every day. But then there's people like, you know, Steve Harvey, where yeah, he did hustle, but he remained faithful to his faith, and he believed in that, and he was true, and he was honest. And I value a better person. Like if you have good values, and if you have a good heart and a good passion towards like bettering people and bettering yourself, then I mean that's a person to reckon with, not to reckon with.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, you know, success. I like the quote that you posted today, because I think a lot of people, if you ask people, they're like, well, what does success mean to you? Like, what do you think success means? And they always say, well, you know, just to be happy. Yeah. Like that's enough for me. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're put here to necessarily be happy. Mm-hmm. I think that's what the next life is for. Yeah. Is just for pure joy. And I think this life is about building character. And
well, yeah, because the only thing you take to heaven is your character.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of my favorite quotes.
Alex Trebek, he was in an interview, and he made a lot of money. He was he's been on Jeopardy for
600 years.
So he's probably got like over hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. And he said, someone came up to me and said, why do you give most of it away? He's like, well, you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
He's like, what's the point what's the point of having it? It's just going to go sit somewhere, or somebody else is going to take it. Like, what's the point? Like, yeah, I can put it down for my kids and my grandkids and their kids and all those things. But he's like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
He's like, I would rather be a good person, because that's what I'm taking with me.
Building character and having experiences and learning about yourself and the world around you.
Yeah.
I think that's what success is, you know, I didn't succeed per se at woodworking, but I learned a hell of a lot during that process. I learned about myself during that process. And that's enough for me. So it's not quite a failure. It's not quite a success.
Yeah.
But it's enough.
Right.
Yeah, I think success and failure they're a lot closer than you think they are. They're not opposites.
Well, you either fail. I mean, I guess if you dive deeper into the,
I don't think just because you fail you don't succeed, and just because you succeed doesn't mean you don't fail.
Right.
I think there's a lot of instances where failure ends up being success in the way that you may have not just thought.
Well, it's like someone discovered something on accident.
It's literally like everybody who discovers something.
Yeah, something. I mean, that's essentially a failure. Designed by? I mean, you can consider that
Columbus.
Yeah, he discovered Cuba.
Isaac Newton.
Yeah,
a ton of people.
Apple fell on his head.
I mean, yeah.
And he's like, gravity.
Gravity.
I mean, Chernobyl. Failure.
Yeah, but we learned a hell of a lot about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We realize what it can do.
Yeah.
Why we need to be careful.
Failure can be a good thing.
I think so too. I think people, man,
people are scared of it.
Right. It's
like deathly scared of it. There are people in my life.
Yeah.
Who will not even try because they're scared to fail.
Really?
I think I used to be like that. Mm-hmm. At some point, maybe it didn't last very long in my life, but actually I could think of a really good example of that. After my divorce, I gave up on relationships. Not like romantic relationships, just like all relationships.
Yeah.
With my family, with you, with Nick, with my best friends. I gave up. I'm like, look, if I can't succeed in this one thing that I literally devoted 9 years to, if I can't succeed in that, then why would I even try to build relationships other than that? Like it's safer to just not do that. Mm-hmm. And then it took me 2 years to realize that's no way to live.
No, yeah. Would you consider what happened with her a failure?
At the time I did. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, now looking back, I don't, if I set out to have a good and long lasting and, just fantastic marriage, if it's that surface level, which doesn't sound surface level, but it is.
Yeah.
If that is what the goal was, then yes, I failed. Mm-hmm. But I don't think big picture, that's what the goal was. Big picture, the goal was to serve God and to serve the people that I meet and the people around me and to serve the world through a healthy relationship. Mm-hmm. I mean, why else do people get, that's why I got married. I got married because I wanted to have somebody in my life who could help me be the best person that I could be.
Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to help them be the best person that they could be.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make a difference in the world through that relationship. Mm-hmm. Right. So I don't think, and if I go that route, I don't think I failed, because in the end it made me, I think, a better person. I can't speak for her.
Right.
Right. But in the end, I think it made me a better person. And in the end, because of that relationship, I found a new relationship that is pushing me even harder to be a better person. And that is growing me even more than I ever could have in that relationship.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, it was a failed relationship.
It was a failed relationship.
Which in turn taught you to be, it was a failed relationship. And like you said, you were like, well, I don't want to be in a relationship with anybody else, like friends, family, yada. Because like, if I can't succeed in this, then why do I do this? But it's like, no, you can. you weren't the failure. Obviously, it was a difference of opinions of what she wanted versus what you wanted. And,
it's out of your control sometimes.
Right, exactly.
And that's what I had to learn.
Right. And that's like the crazy thing about what happened is it was just sort of nature.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was nurtured into her. I think it was just a natural fact of, look, I want to do this, whether you like it or not. And you're like, well, I don't want you to do that. Well, it's going to happen anyway. It's like, well, that's your decision.
Yeah.
That's like the easy way to describe what happened.
Right,
but,
right.
It didn't really go that way. But that's, and it taught you a lesson that way. And I mean, there's so many instances of failure, which in the moment, like you said, some people can be so afraid to do it. Like whether it's, and I mean, fear is so crippling in some cases.
We should talk about fear next week.
We should. I lost my train of thought. No, I didn't.
Fear can be so crippling.
It can be so crippling, and like you said, that people like won't even try, or that they're so caught up in the fact of like, well, what is this person going to think? I've got so many people in my life that do that.
Yeah.
Well, does this person think I'm not doing a good job? It's like, just do it.
It's kind of annoying.
It is kind of annoying.
They're so scared because they're taking other people's opinions into consideration. It's like, no, stop it.
Yeah.
Figure out the kind of person that you want to be,
mm-hmm.
which don't look to other people to figure that out.
Right.
Because they're not going to tell you.
Right.
They're going to tell you, but it's not going to be what you want.
Yeah.
Figure out for yourself who you want to be, what kind of person you want to be, and what the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
And that I'm not talking about career. I'm just talking about like in life. Like what do you want to do?
Right.
Figure those things out, and then don't let anything stop you.
And even if you can't figure it out, do something.
Just keep pursuing something.
Just keep pursuing.
You just got to keep swimming.
I think some people are like, well, what are they going to think of me? Are they going to think that I'm a failure? It's like, okay, do you think you're a failure? Well, no. Then show them that you're not.
Right.
If you fail, be like, okay, well, I tried something. I'll try something different. They would love to see you try.
Yeah.
Just try.
And even if you fail, literally nobody is going to be thinking about that tomorrow.
Exactly.
They might, you might go to them and say, I failed. And they might be thinking about it in that instance. The second that you turn around and walk away, they have their own life to live.
Yep.
You're not on their mind anymore.
Right.
Get out of your head.
Right.
Stop thinking that everyone thinks about you because they don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. They don't.
Or if everybody has ill intentions towards you, because guess what? They probably don't.
They don't. Nobody thinks about you unless they're with you. And if you are a kind, good person and you love them, most of those people will love you back. Some of them won't. Some of them will hate your guts. Some of them will want to hurt you. Some of them will hurt you.
Spit in their face.
Spit in their face and move on.
It's getting kind of angry. Let's keep going.
Oh, man.
Rage. Honestly, if you take away anything from this segment of the podcast, I don't go to bed thinking about what other people think of me. I literally could give two fucks.
You can't because you'll wake up depressed.
Exactly. If I went to bed every night thinking, oh, is my boss going to like me tomorrow? I would be up all night.
Yeah.
Or I'd be like sad. I'm like, I go into work going, what's up, motherfuckers?
Yeah.
Not all the time. But I do a lot because guess what? That's who I am.
Right.
And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of who I am.
I'm not afraid.
Not afraid
to take a stand.
Just take a stand.
Isn't that the word?
Everybody,
Everybody,
come take my hand.
come take my hand.
In this world together through the storm. The song is copyrighted and we're getting kicked off the air. We could talk about this all day, but our society has just turned into. I'm gonna get a little low for a second. I had a friend from high school that passed away in October. I didn't know why or how, and I thought it was a disease and stuff like that. And he ended up on taking his life because, there was multiple different things on why.
Yeah.
But one of the things that came to mind was that he was so taken back by, he thought that his coworkers, I think he worked at a hospital, his coworkers were trying to destroy his career. And it's like,
he was paranoid.
Right. And now it's like it's driving his failure machine, thinking, well, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Or what can I do? And he just dove into this deep pit. And that's just scary. It's just scary.
It's scary because anyone is capable of that.
Right.
Anybody in your life, in my life, even ourselves, it's so easy to think that way. Mm-hmm. And you have to force yourself to not. You have to you have to train this is what I think a lot of people don't understand, is that the brain acts like a muscle.
Yeah.
You can't just wake up one morning and go to the gym and lift 450 pounds.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to go every day and train for years, intentionally train your body to do the things that you want to do.
Yep.
And if you're depressed and if you're scared and if you're paranoid and if you don't like the way that you think of yourself, or if you don't even like the way that you think because you're thinking about, oh, what do other people think of me? What did I do wrong? Stop thinking that's going to change overnight. You have to work at it, and you have to train your body, you have to train your mind to fight those things off. Tom Harmon is a speaker that Colin and I saw a couple years back, and he said something that I think applies to a lot of different aspects of life, that our body and especially our mind is like a jar.
Mm-hmm.
If your jar is filled to the brim with disgusting, gross mud and water and gook and all this just shit, if this jar is full, no matter how good something is, it's not going to fit in there.
Yeah.
You have to get that other toxic stuff out of the jar before something good can go in. Once you fill that jar with good, it's going to be really hard to get shit back in there because it's already full. We don't have like an infinity amount of space in our head. Or time, on this world. And if we can fill it with good stuff, and if we could fill it with positive attitudes and positive ways of thinking and good character and good behavior, it's going to be really hard to break us.
Right. Well, and to piggyback off that, I mean, that's a great point. And I think everybody should take a lesson from something like that. And we're not licensed therapists, so we'll take this with a grain of salt. But what worked for me, and it sounds so silly, but I mean, I went to therapy. I was like, I went to like this seminar for work, and we were advertising things at this. It was at a therapy office, and they like listed all the like top 10 things of like what someone in depression is feeling, or what they, what 10 signs of depression are, I think.
Right.
And I was like, well, I got 9 out of 10 of those, and this is not okay. And I told her before that I ended up on going to see a therapist, but one of the things that she told me, she said, all right, so what's going on? Like, why are you here? You're obviously here for a reason. And she said, well, clearly you have very low self-esteem. What are 4 to 5 things that you love about yourself, or that you want, what you think you are? Like, don't think of the bad things, think of the good things. And I said, strong, mighty, truthful, powerful, and cool. And she goes, okay, write those down, rip them off, put them on a mirror, like your bathroom mirror, your bedroom mirror. And every morning before you brush your teeth, before anything, you walk into the bathroom and you say those 5 things. And you say, I am, every day. And she's like, trust me.
It sounds stupid, but it's so powerful.
Stupid, and it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So if you are listening to this podcast and you are thinking like, I am so worthless, it's like, okay.
First of all, you're not.
Exactly.
And there are people out there who love you.
Yeah. Whether you think they don't or not.
Right.
Take these 5 things, or 4, whatever. It could be 15. I don't care. But pick them and try it. And I mean, I kid you not, I was driving to work. I was like, I am this and I am that. And I was like screaming at her. I was like, yeah. I was like getting into it. And you know what? My attitude changed. Like in a month.
Yeah.
I saw her again and she's like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm actually feeling good, because like it's not that I was tricking myself. It's like, no, these are things.
You're doing work. You're training.
Right. These are things that I believe.
Yeah.
I believe these things, but I just don't see them.
Right.
So when I need to tell myself, like, even if it's just an unconscious thing of like, honestly, if you just go through that motion, I am this, I am that, I am great, I am happy, I am cool. Just say these things to yourself. Look yourself in the eye and do it, and you will see a difference. Yeah. And it's just like what you said. Your brain is a muscle. It's not going to happen in a day. I hate those people that are like, I dieted. I had like a peanut for lunch, and I'm like 6 pounds heavier. I'm like, okay, you have a peanut for lunch, and then you have like a burger for dinner. It's just not gonna same. So it's gonna take time, and that's the hard thing. That's what some people. We live in a society that loves instant gratification.
Oh yeah,
and I hate it because I am like that.
Yeah, dude.
And it sucks, but it work requires work.
Any last thoughts on failure or success?
One last thought that just popped in my head. I mean, everybody's going through different motions, different things in life. Everybody's at a different point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hell, I'm living in your house and you are younger than me. That's it doesn't mean that you're better than me. It doesn't mean that
It doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. It doesn't. It's a different point in life.
Yeah.
We've already talked about regret. We've already talked about failures, and you talked about yours. I've talked about mine. Like, you could be, you know, if everything had worked out with your family, you could have 4 kids by now. I mean, there's so many different things.
Terrifying.
Exactly. Just because one person has a different space in their life doesn't mean that your life is over.
Right. Man.
Just get so worked up.
Seriously, I just there are a handful of people that I just keep picturing in my head that I want to tell this to, like, face to face, that you got to stop comparing yourself to other people. Yeah. You are going to let yourself down every single time.
And you lose your individuality. You lose your greatness. It's like, just because that person has the job that you wanted or is getting married and had this great wedding doesn't mean that they didn't work their ass off for that. And it doesn't mean you might not have a better wedding or something greater.
And newsflash, people really only show you the good stuff in their life.
Exactly.
Everyone's got their own garbage that they're going through, and everyone has their own great stuff. And some people don't show their great stuff. Yep. And just because somebody does something that's great and you do something that's great, that doesn't mean that one of those things is greater. Like, we just, as a society, have to stop comparing ourselves to other people.
Exactly.
And to each other, because it you're tearing me apart, Lisa. Man. All right. Well, I don't think I have anything else to say about failure. Yeah. Just don't be scared to fail, because I think some of life's greatest achievements have happened because people did not succeed the way that they wanted to. Yeah.
Look up anybody that's a failure. Look up anybody that's a failure. Look up anybody that's successful. At some point, you'll find something that said, like, they were an alcoholic, or their wife left them and took everything, and they, you know, Apple, Amazon. Amazon, I found, if you look up the first photo of Amazon, it's Jeff Bezos, who's the richest man in the world, with a paper next to him in an office that looks like it was spray painted on. And look at him now. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for coming back to season 2. Woo. Next week, I think we're going to talk about fear.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
So make sure to tune back in next week. Make sure to follow us on the line on Instagram.
On the gram.
And
Prone to Ponder podcast.
And if you would like to sponsor Prone to Ponder for as little as $1 a month, anchor.fm/Prone to Ponder/support. We'll be there. We love you guys. Thank you so much for coming back. And we will talk to you next week.
Adios.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.